That's what this is showing. Those irregular abrasions that aren't the same size, that's pseudostipple.
Are you talking about this area up here?
All of them. The one above it, the one below it, the three below it, and the one above it.
Right here.
Additionally to the abrasion on the back of the ear.
That we just saw.
Yes.
41 cc. What are we looking at here?
Abrasions on the right cheek. Additionally, I would classify them as pseudostipple as well.
Okay. So similar to the previous injuries we saw on near his ear in terms of a bullet going through something and then causing these types of irregular abrasions?
Yes, whatever that something is causes these irregular abrasions, and there's smaller ones down by the angle of the mandible, by the between the ear and the back of the chin.
This
There,
area right
that
here?
area, yes.
41 DD. What are we looking at here?
This is a photograph of his hand. I believe it's his right hand. It's a close-up photograph. I can't tell. I don't believe there was any injuries to his hands. I think that is blood, because we take photographs as is or from when the body's transported from the scene. They put, or a lot of times they put handbags to preserve any evidence on the hands themselves. So when we take them off, we take a photograph of the hands as they are. So I believe that's what that is.
41 EE. What are we looking at here?
That is the right hand as well, and that, I believe, is the pseudostipple that covers the back of his hand.
Okay. So in terms of all these blood marks, what's your professional opinion about what's the cause of all that?
They're punctate abrasions. They can be caused by anything: shattered glass, plastic, metal fragments, you name it.
Okay. So in terms of an actual kind of bullet wound to his hand, or either hand, did you notice any type of bullet wounds to his hand?
There's no penetrating or perforating wounds to the hand.
41 FF. These marks on the fingers, can you tell the jury what those are?
More pseudostipple.
41 GG. Which hand are we looking at now?
That is the left hand.
Okay. What, if any, notations or observations did you make in relation to this hand?
There is some pseudostipple, like we saw on the fingers, and towards the thumb on the left hand, on the back side.
Okay. And the last photo I have here, 41 HH. On that same hand, is this the pseudostipple that you're talking about?
Yes, some of which we already saw in the previous photo, yes.
Okay. Would you expect a hand that was closer to either shattering glass or plastic or whatever to have more pseudostipple than a hand that was further away?
It's likely that it would happen that way, but not necessarily. I can't say definitively that it would happen that way.
Okay. Now, doctor, in terms of your overall, we went through all the photographs of all these injuries. Is there anything that you notated that we haven't discussed about during your autopsy you noted something of significance?
No.
Right. Now, have you ever heard of something called a death grip, doctor?
Colloquially, I can figure out what you mean by that, but no, I've not specifically heard that.
What do you take that, I guess, two-word phrase to mean? If he knows, just.
It is, yeah, I was just going to use that word as a matter of fact. So, overruled. Go ahead.
Go ahead, doctor.
He said he'd not heard that term. Yeah, you may.
So, doctor, in terms of what you know, if anything, about the phrase death grip when it comes to your profession.
I don't specifically use that I don't use that in my practice, but I believe it means that it's the grip of, or positioning of the hand as if it was holding something when the person died.
Going to approach, Judge, if I may.
Yep, go ahead.
What's already been admitted as states 28, D as in dog.
All right.
Certainly.
Which hand of disease is this photograph taken?
His left hand.
Based on this photograph alone, what, if anything, can you tell us about whether or not the victim in this case, Sebastian, had a gun in his hand?
I can't unless someone tells me that they found a gun in his hand. He could have been holding something or nothing at all when his hand's just in that position. Or he could have been holding a can of soda, cigarette lighter, cell phone. I have no idea.
So in terms of the positioning of his hand, is it possible that a gun was in that hand?
Certainly possible.
Is it possible nothing was in his hand?
That's also possible.
Is it possible that as he was dying, his hand just fell that way?
That's possible.
Now, in terms of rigor mortis, when someone dies, what's the earliest you've ever seen rigor mortis set in?
Depending on what they were doing beforehand, it could be minutes. Typically, we say 2 to 4 hours. It starts post-death, but usually, once you die, so rigor mortis is stiffening of the muscles, and it's because your body is running out of the energy source it needs for the muscles to contract. And you need that energy source for the muscles to contract and to relax. So whatever state you're in, when you run out of that energy source, is how your muscles are going to be. So some muscles are going to be flexed, some muscles are going to be extended. It depends on what you were doing before you died and what position you're in. So not knowing how much energy you expended before you died, you can't really tell how long it's going to take somebody to go into rigor. If you're running a marathon and then you drop dead, you may go into rigor within a few minutes when somebody gets to you, because you've expended all your energy during the marathon run and there's nothing left to supply those muscles to do anything after you die. So when you run out of all your ATP is what it is, that's when the muscles are stuck in their position. It starts in the smallest muscles. Well, it's most notable in the smallest muscles first, but it happens in the entire body at the same time.
And once rigor mortis actually sets in, how easy is it, for example, let's say that rigor mortis set in at this point, how easy would it be to open up those fingertips?
If it's set, then it shouldn't be easy.
And so if it was easy to open these fingertips, for example, to take photographs of the inside, would it be your professional opinion that rigor mortis had not set in yet?
It could be the beginning part. It may not be fixed, which means that it's been there for at least 4 to 6 hours.
Right. So would you expect within 20 minutes that it would be of such a rigor mortis state that you would not be able to pull the hand open without using some force?
Again, I would point to the scenario, the circumstances of how the person died beforehand to know. It could be possible depending upon what the person was doing before they died. If they were just sitting doing nothing, then they weren't expending a lot of energy. So they should still have some ATP, so that means rigor mortis is not going to set in that quickly. Because, the cells themselves are not going to break down instantaneously when you die. And so that person may be going into early rigor. You could note that when you look at the appendage or the part of the body you're looking at, you can feel a little tension, but you'll be able to break it. It's not fixed.
Would you expect rigor mortis to set in quickly if it were a 3 to 4 minutes of activity, physical activity?
Again, it's a process, so there could be some, but I don't think it'd be fixed lividity at that point. I mean, fixed rigor mortis. Sorry.
And what does that mean?
That'd be difficult to break.
If there was a lot of energy expended and then we see the hand like this, that even after 3 to 4 minutes of strenuous activity, if rigor mortis would set in, it would be difficult to open up those fingertips.
I don't believe it'd be extremely difficult.
But it would take some force to be able to do.
A bit more than it would if he was doing no activity before he died. Yeah.
And in terms of his left hand, this is going to be 28A, or excuse me, take it back. This is 28A, which is his left hand.
No, I believe that's his right hand.
His right hand. So the first image we saw was his left hand, right?
Correct.
And we just talked about it. His left hand, given just the position of it, could have had a gun in it, right?
Possibly.
Could have had nothing in it.
Possibly, yes.
In terms of his right hand, is it possible that a gun was in that hand?
It's possible.
Based on the orientation as it is while he's on the kind of body bag at this point?
It's possible.
Okay. It's possible a cell phone was in that hand?
That's also possible.
Possible he was holding maybe one of the car door handles before he died?
Possible.
And in terms of this hand, again, possible there was just nothing in his hand when he was inside of that vehicle.
That also is possible.
All right. Just one moment, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
So if you can tell, doctor, how many total entrance wounds did this victim suffer?
There were 10 gunshot wounds.
Okay. And how many, I guess, exit wounds were you able to find?
Of the 10 gunshot wounds, there was 1 graze and one perforating gunshot wound path.
Say that last part again, doctor. Didn't hear.
1 graze wound and 1 perforating gunshot wound path.
Okay. And in terms of cause of death, I know you have terms in your profession. What's the official cause of death that you determined in this case?
Multiple gunshot wounds.
Manner of death. What was the manner of death in this case?
Homicide.
And in your professional opinion, why is it that Sebastian died based on these wounds? What caused his death?
He was shot by another person or persons.
And what primary gunshot wound was the one that would have led to his death based on your training and experience?
The most fatal one would have been the gunshot wound to the right side of the back that went through the right thoracic cavity, the right lung, the liver, the right kidney, and thoracic vertebrae.
Then just for admission purposes, this is 40A. What are we looking at here?
It's a diagram that depicts the measurements I took for the wounds that I described in my report.
So this is just kind of a memorial of everything we just talked about in terms of all the injuries and where they are located on his body.
Yes.
And then for B, what are we looking at here?
The right side of his body with the wounds on that side of the body.
And then just for clarification, did you notice any type of entry wounds on the left side of his body?
No.
All right. Last question. If you had to summarize, would you say that all of the gunshot wounds that you observed during the course of your autopsy were from either back to front or they were going in horizontally, I guess on that even plane?
If I may refer.
Yes.
I'd say yes.
Okay. And then in terms of a right to left or a left to right trajectory, did all those wounds have a right to left? Did some of them have left to right? What would you say at the conclusion of your autopsy?
All were going right to left to some degree.
So that would mean that any of the bullets that entered into his body, based on your review and your training and experience, would have come somewhere to his right.
Based upon my autopsy with the body and its opposition, yes.
All right, there's no further questions. Permission to get these photographs. I don't know if the defense counsel
Yep,
needs
well,
them.
go ahead and retrieve them now. All right, thank you very much for the direct exam. Who's going to do cross? All right, Mr. Shiner?
I proceed, Judge.
Yes, sir, please do.
Good afternoon, Doctor.
Good afternoon.
You've done 2,500 autopsies approximately?
More than that, yes.
At least 2,500.
Yes.
15 years, 5 in Philadelphia, 5, roughly 4 or 5 here, 5 in Broward, a year in Miami, right?
Yes.
All right. So have you done cases where a police officer has killed a decedent?
Yes.
All right. And when you do those, is that also, whether it's justified or not justified, do you still term that a homicide?
Our determinations of manner, we have to pick from 5, and it's for statistical purposes and vital statistic purposes only. And it basically just, our definition of homicide is death at the hand of another.
All right. So if a police officer shoots someone, pulls a gun on them, shoots first, doesn't shoot at all, just points a gun, and the officer shoots that guy or a woman and kills them, whether it's justified